Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Cosmo Muse Tarot and this week's reading, which is going to be inspired by the season, the Zodiac season in which I'm doing this, which is Cancer season. You can come here at any point. It's just what's inspiring the reading. So if you're coming here, say in Aquarius season, maybe there's something going on in your stars that needs a little more nourishment and for you to turn a little more inward and ask what you need. So this is a reading that is about what do I need right now. So Cancer has a lot to do with the inner world, with the feminine, with our root systems, with just kind of that tuning inward, tuning into nourishment and care and softness and just that beautiful feminine energy. So what do you need? And it's going to be a pretty simple reading. I am only going to use 3 decks, very feminine decks. The cards you're choosing are from the first deck, which is called the Wild Whispers Oracle, which I just got and I think is a fabulous deck. It really uses the landscape of the desert to pull out messages. The way that the guidebook breaks it down is kind of alchemical, so I'm only going to be reading sort of the first main message from the guidebook. We will also then use the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck for another message of something you need. And then the third one will use the Goddess Power Oracle for a third thing you need. So 3 different cards, things you need. I will be reading from the guidebooks to just give some richness and depth to each card since we're just doing 3 cards. So tune in. I chose the Wild Whispers Oracle as the first one and to do your piles because it's the most abstract deck. So just kind of tuning into, singular words, slowness, wholeness, flexibility. Those are our 3 piles. If you are feeling the Cancer season energy or whatever season you're in and just feel that sense of, I do need to listen inward. I do need messages about what I need. Feel free to pick multiple piles. So let's get into our piles. We have pile 1, which is slowness, and we have a camel under a sun with a beautiful cactus and dunes in the background. Pile 2, we have wholeness. This one feels more, we've got the sun and the moon in here, and then the bodies kind of have the night sky, and the backdrop is like daytime. So it feels, that wholeness is really kind of encompassing some kind of rhythm in it. It feels like. We'll see what the guidebook says. And then pile 3 is flexibility. So we have a more playful, some legs and a cactus that's more like a Joshua tree that's a little bit more playful. I don't know if it actually is that, but kind of has that more playful spirit of the desert in it. Assumption. Again, we'll see what the guidebook says. So those are the 3 piles. I will pause here for just a second for you to tune into these. Feel free to pause on your end if you want some extra time to tune in, and timestamps will be in the descriptions. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading where we are checking in with some very feminine decks to get some insight into what you need. Hopefully this is just confirmation for you, but definitely if it brings up some new things, that's great too. But take what resonates. If something doesn't resonate, if you're like, I don't think I need that, that's fine. Leave it, Just use it as confirmation or to gain a deeper awareness of something that you maybe hadn't tapped, but that does feel resonant. So we are first going to look at your card that you chose from the Wild Whispers Oracle. And so this is pulling sort of from the landscape of the desert, but not just themes from the desert. It's also using the daily rhythm to give a little bit more richness as well to the desert. So it uses sort of sunset, sun nadir, so when we're fully turned from the sun, the middle of the night, sunrise, and sun zenith, when the sun is directly overhead. Just giving that kind of, the desert takes on very different qualities in those different rhythms, those different moments of the rhythm of the day. So slowness is one of the cards that comes at the sun zenith. So something about, when I think of the desert, it's hot, it is sunny and bright to me, at least in my association with it. And so it feels very archetypal to me of the desert. And I always do think of like a camel, and just needing to go at a slower pace in order to kind of be able to power through that great expanse of the desert. So slowness in that context of desert at the sun at its zenith makes a lot of sense. But let's see what the guidebook has to say about it as well. Whoops. Slowness. Slow down. The universe will get you where you're going. So don't feel like if you slow down, you're going to not make it somewhere or miss something. Like it's part of getting to where you're needing to go right now or wanting to go has to do with getting there in your own time, just doing it sustainably. Okay, are you racing through life at the speed of light? Slow down, for gifts and natural beauty lie in your path. Gifts and natural beauty line your path. Every nook and cranny of the desert is filled with treasures. Be sure not to rush past any. Life is happening in this very moment, not in the next. So take time to revel in it. Sometimes what you perceive as a delay or an obstacle may actually help you in discovering something totally new. Whether that newness expresses itself externally or internally, you likely would never have found it by fast tracking to the finish line. Let the sun illuminate each part of the path, not just the final steps. Slowing your pace will make any hot journey more sustainable too. Just like a camel conserves water throughout her crossing of the desert, you will have to make sure you're not exerting all of your energy right at the start. The midday sun can feel unforgiving, but in slowing your step lies the secret to reaching the end of this desert. Trust the pace. I love that last sentence. So simple. Trust the pace. So this makes me feel like most people that have come here have maybe some big project you're working on, or just a lot on to-do lists recently, or some pressures at work or home. So, just this feeling of there's not enough time in the day, or I have this big thing I want to do and how am I ever going to finish it if I don't, stay on schedule and this and that. And this is just saying that like time is a little bit more magical than we like to make it. When you can see an end goal, I want to add this into this, is like when you can see an end goal, something happens. Like when you have that clear vision in your head of what the end goal is like time collapses and it just happens in the time it's supposed to happen, and you can just feel some kind of intuitive rhythm starting to take place, where it's not about these rigid schedules and feeling rushed to get through certain steps. It's like suddenly when you see that visual of the end goal, like you can be present to where you are at the moment. there's so much magic in that just being present to the moment and what's needed right now. So this almost also even flips the meaning of this reading of like, what do you need? And it's sort of like, what does that end goal need, you know? And what do you need within that being your end goal? Maybe putting rushed energy into things isn't doing any good to the end goal, and certainly not to you, you know? It's like there's an energetic in each moment that infuses itself in some kind of goal you're getting to or trajectory you're on. And it's like if you keep infusing it with rushed energy or hurried energy or impatience or, you know, anything like that, it's weaving that thread into the fabric of that thing, of that end goal, and it's not as enriched as if you were to go slow and be present to the moment and just trust, because you see a clear vision of the end goal, that it will happen. And so just be in the magic of now and weave the threads of the now with more magic and make everything more enriched by being present and going at the pace you need to go. So really cool. Okay, let's get you, what else do you need from the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck? Let's see what else we can find for you. Priestess, intuition. I love the contrast of colors here. Like the green is a little bit more and into the blues. It's like a little bit cooler. It feels like some relief comparing and contrasting those two cards. But let's see what this one says. Might take me just a minute to find. I kind of wish these cards were numbered. Here's a table of contents. Okay, Priestess. 133. Oh, I was getting close. Okay, here we go. Intuition. Priestess is a hollow bone, a clear and open channel for receiving and transmitting divine wisdom. Through the ages, she has spoken on behalf of the great goddess holding authority and insight as an intermediary between the physical and spiritual realms. Honor the prophetic lineage of Priestess by cultivating your intuition as the voice of the divinity that resides within. A card about opening up to what lies beyond our five senses. I already felt something about like being present to the magic in this slowness card. So that thing that I was sort of feeling but wasn't a main theme, I think is really picking up with this Priestess, is like really being present and tuning into those subtle, unseen, magical currents that we can really tap into. Let's see. A card about opening up to what lies beyond our five senses. Priestess asks you to listen deeply and heed your inner knowing. An audience with the Priestess means that unseen powers are at work. If you are navigating unknowns, either for yourself or another, become a vessel for visionary guidance. Articulate what you hope to clarify and wait for a response. The answer may come in many forms: a bodily knowing, a premonition, a sudden momentum toward or away from the matter at hand. Pay special attention to the area of the forehead between the eyebrows, where many religions believe higher perception resides, the brow chakra. Known in Buddhism, Hinduism, and Taoism as the third eye, it is here that the mind, psychic impressions, and empathy converge. Rather than relying on others to guide you or listening solely to the voice of reason whose logic can drown out deeper knowing, hearken to your inborn oracle. Likewise, avoid getting stuck in the belief that you already have all the answers, which can shut down the ability to attune your sixth sense. Be open and you shall receive and perceive. Priestess serves the highest good. Through her, the divine feminine speaks truth and acts in the name of love. She calls you to become a conduit as well, beseeching you to be the voice of eternal wisdom that infuses the sacred into every aspect of life. Priestess reminds you that ultimately you are not your mind, body, or experiences. You are that which was never born and therefore can never die, the quiet, hidden ecstasy that permeates everything and makes all things holy. Beautiful. So I do think that I wasn't sure if these cards would feel tethered. I wasn't sure if they would be more kind of like, you need this and you also need this and then you also need this, or if they kind of had conversations between them. And I do feel a little bit of a conversation between these. They definitely have their own elements to them, but there is a conversation here. And it is that thing I was picking up in the slowness, that it's like when you can go at that pace that feels enriching to you, that maybe is a little slower than you're going right now, or confirming the slower pace you've chosen is right, whatever hits for you, that you tune into the magic, and that helps you to really get in line with your third eye and tap into it and utilize your third eye. Because definitely when you're rushed and when you're making your schedules very pressured and stressful and spinning and, just overloaded. I mean, for me, I don't want to project on you guys, but for me, I don't see any way I would still be like very aware of and in tune with intuition and third eye if I'm just, on the go and this and that and just like in my head and focused on what's next. And like, there's something about that slowness and being present that really, in my opinion, is what helps you get in tune with that intuitive place and that psychic place and that third eye priestess-like realm. And there's something you need from that space right now. There's something that your intuition has to offer you, that your third eye and your sixth sense has to offer you, but it's in slowing down a little bit that you're able to tap into that and really enrich things going on in your life through that more magical, slower cadence. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let's get your last card from the Goddess Power Oracle. So the goddesses, what insight do they have for you around what you need? Kali, liberation. Interesting. Okay, 26. You're being invited by the Hindu goddess of liberation and revolution, Kali, to address the aspects in your own shadow nature that have held you hostage to old ideas that no longer serve who you want to become. You can no longer define yourself by victim story and expect to succeed in your life. There is a beauty in liberation that is deep, fierce, and courageous. It rises up from the willingness to break the chain of the past in order to transform into something new. You may be afraid to set boundaries with others, but the goddess Kali has come to lend you her daggers, for you must cut ties with the familiar ideas about life that have determined your place in the world up until now. You have been holding back on shining in the world because you are afraid of the reprisal or judgment of others. sorry, that's a question. Have you been holding back on, on shining in the world because you are afraid of the reprisal or judgment of others? This helps no one. You must step into life authentic and glowing. Refuse to allow the potential judgment of others to affect you. Every day, claim your power to liberate yourself from caring what others think. When you are asking for the wisdom to live and contribute, to do no harm, and to serve for the highest good of all, none of this matters, even if you must tear down what has been built. Kali will help you whatever you need to be courageous, even when you are most afraid. Be fierce and be loving and be willing to learn. Life will respond in miraculous ways. I love that. So there's some kind of, maybe there's some kind of ingrained and learned patterning going on right now that your deeper self is saying, I need to break this. I need to break this pattern, this way of overloading my schedule, or to bring in some of the themes from the description and the Kali, for the Kali card. I almost get this sense that you may, like, rather than allowing yourself to be seen for these, like tapping, again, there's this conversation going on for me, for like these great insights you have, or these great visionary journeys or big goals you set. Rather than slowing down and like receiving attention for them, it's like you get entrenched in maybe like a need to be needed, or a need to work hard, or this belief that you have to work hard for anything you do to be received or respected. But like, when does that end? When do you hit that end goal of like, I worked hard enough for this to be received, or for my insights to be respected, or, it's like, how is busy work, hard work, overdoing, overhelping become a crutch that allows you to avoid shining, to avoid putting yourself out there, for fear of judgment, for fear of success, for fear of being in the spotlight or being successful. There's some construct you're needing to, your deeper self is saying, I need to break that. Life should be able to go slower and be more enriched and more intuitive, rather than so hard and so effortful. So whatever that means to you, there's something from your deeper self that's saying, like, you don't have to keep overdoing things, overthinking things, over helping in some way, or, like, let things be more simple. Let them take the time they take, but be present to the moment, so that you also not only are receiving your own intuitive insights, but also receiving respect and honor and attention that is coming towards you. Like, I sometimes do that myself, and I definitely know people in my life that do this, where it's like, rather than seeing recognition that's coming to them and praise, or applause or adoration, it's like it gets deflected by doing and doing and like it's never enough, and I don't even, I kind of see that coming, but like I don't know that I deserve it because I still haven't done this step or that step or gotten to where that person got. And it's like, just chill. Go slow, be present, recognize when your intuition is speaking to you, and recognize when you're shining and when people are placing you in the spotlight and actually showing you respect and adoration. Like, receive it, receive your intuition, receive applause, receive. So there's a construct you need to break in the overdoing in order to just be and receive for all the things you do, So I hope that makes sense, because my sense here is that you already have done what you need to do. Like, you're already arrived. You already have everything within you need. Like, you're already there. Maybe there's a little bit of footwork or details or, whatever, but it's like, you're already there. Enjoy it. Like, there's so much that's already there, at least. There's so much that's already there. Go slow, receive, enjoy, be present to the things you are receiving. Intuition, applause, respect, the spotlight, whatever it is, or just ease. Maybe you're just receiving ease and you're not seeing it and you don't know how to receive ease. Like, what is it that's trying to come in? Break the construct of deflection through doing and just be and receive. Because it's my sense is it's trying to come in and your deeper self needs it. And it's saying, stop. We need this. We need to fill our cup. We need to recognize that we're being recognized, that kind of thing. So yeah, take a breath, be present, see the magic of the moment, see your intuition starting to speak to you, and see the things that you're supposed to be receiving trying to make their way into your boundaries that are beautiful things that you should be letting into your boundaries, Okay, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this was helpful. Some of this should be more confirmation, but if there were new insights and they resonate, great. So I said this in the intro. If there was anything that you're like, I'm not feeling that, like, these collective readings it's hard to make every reading 100% perfect for everyone that comes to it. So take what does resonate and leave the rest. All right. I hope this was insightful. If it did resonate, I always appreciate the things like share, subscribe. But in general, thank you for letting me read for you. I enjoy doing this so much. So appreciate your time, and hope to see you in the future. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading, where we are going to be looking at 3 different decks that are very feminine in orientation, looking into what do you need. So what is your deeper self calling for? What can the cards reveal and give you insight into in terms of things you need right now? So starting with this Wild Whispers Oracle, which is the deck we use to pick piles. This deck I'm just really loving. It uses the desert and different themes from the desert as inspiration. But what I love even more than that, because there's lots of desert decks, is it uses the rhythm of the desert in terms of like time of day, because desert at sunrise versus sunset and at midnight versus midday have a very different, the same things in the desert might feel totally different at those times, or those times really illuminate certain things. So I love that rhythmic aspect on top of just the beauty and amazing wisdom the desert has. So it is broken into sunset, sun nadir, sunrise, and sun zenith. And you guys have one of the cards that is the sun zenith, so midday in the desert, when it's hot, when it's, the desert at its most kind of archetypal desert kind of ways of being, hot and exposing and expansive and, all those things. Pile 1 also had zenith, so you may want to see if at least that first card has anything for you as well. But let's just jump into this one. I'm just reading the first main description of this in the book. It kind of breaks each card down into 7 parts aligned with the alchemical process. But I'm just going to read the first 2. The first one's just a sentence, and then the second one kind of gives the most sort of in-depth kind of articulation of the card and theme. So wholeness, we have moon and sun, always whole. Is it your nature to strive beyond your current circumstances? Oh my gosh, definitely go listen to pile 1 too. To keep learning and changing like the time of day. The drive is not a problem unless you forget that you are always moving into a new expression of being whole. Right here and right now, wherever you stand, you are already complete. Life is comprised of these moments, and as Aristotle said, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. As the future is forever elusive, why chase after it when you have a whole present to explore? You are not late to anything. Your narrative is your own, and it doesn't have to sparkle and gleam in order to be complete. Don't compare your sunset to someone else's sunrise, or your crescent to someone else's full moon. You'll pass through many phases of your life like the moon. No matter what the light reveals in the given moment, you are always full. Like the sun, no matter what the planet's orbit currently exposes, you are always complete. We all are. Give yourself grace and show up for this current expression of you in all its wholeness. So something, this is interesting. So it's very, I sense there are some underlying differences in some themes that came up in pile 1, but there's some really intense crossovers there as well. But one of the things, just to differentiate this pile a little bit, that is legitimately very different in tone than pile 1, is the sense that we do have phases of life, and phases of our day, and phases of our year and month. There's always this cyclical element going on, and there's a wholeness within that element. So even though one phase may not contain some of the things you contained in your last phase, it's part of your greater arc, your greater story, your greater wholeness. If you were to collapse time and everything is at once, it's like you are all of the many versions of yourself that you're ever going to be, and all of the phases of life that you're ever going to be in. And it's just like, slow down to honor where you are right now. Don't try to wish a past version of yourself into the now, or a future version of yourself into the now. They're all part of you, past and future, what has been and what's coming. But to really tune into and enjoy your wholeness, it's like, be more present to what you are now. Stop trying to get back to where you were or get to where you're trying to go, and just take more time to be where you are and be like, I'll never be this version of myself again. It will be part of my greater wholeness, but in the presence of it in the way I am right now won't ever happen again. And that's special, and every moment is unique because of that. And so what is the magic of right now? Instead of comparing it to things in your own life or to others, it's like, just what is the magic of this right now? What's in front of me, what I'm doing, what's coming through me, what's around me, my circumstances, no matter what they are, tragic, privileged, neutral, whatever it is, there's something unique and part of your story that is meant to be experienced and be present to. That's part of your greater wholeness. So what is it you're needing to kind of slow down and tune into and appreciate for that greater complexity of your wholeness, your life, the story and legacy you leave behind, even if once you've passed from this incarnation, nothing's remembered of it. There's still, field of consciousness still is changed by you. And I still feel like that impacts, if you were like me, you don't need to believe this, but I definitely believe in reincarnation. And I think what we do here in our circumstances here and how we respond to things now impacts that even greater arc of a soul level story, who we are. So what your next incarnation, maybe what you choose there, is on the back of this moment as well. How you are responding to life and appreciating where you are for how beautiful and terrible it may be, there's some kind of wholeness it is adding to. Even if your perception right now is it's detracting from your wholeness, it's not. It's filling out your story more and more. You're always gaining more and more wholeness, I feel like. Okay, so let's move to the next deck. We're going to pick a card from the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck and see from this deck what it can illuminate around something you need. In pile one, the cards kind of had conversations. There were elements of them that were their own, but they definitely kind of tied in. So we'll see what happens here as well for you guys. That one wanted to come out. Eggshell. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize. Weaving. Okay, I need to go to the table of contents. 165. Okay. Ixchel, the ancient Mayan moon goddess, renowned as cosmic midwife and rainbow weaver, offers you her protection and guidance. These two métiers, the French word for loom as well as craft, are inextricably linked. For the ancient Maya, weaving was a metaphor for both childbirth and the creative processes at play in the universe. If you have picked Ixchel, often depicted in front of a loom, know that she has come to help you connect to a higher order and bring your vision to fruition. Mayan texts describe the movement of Ixchel's drop spindle as the force of perpetual motion at the center of the universe. Taking up Ixchel's mantle, how does the creative power of the divine want to come through you, to be birthed, midwifed, or woven into the warp and weft of space and time? The metaphor of weaving with its vertical and horizontal thread crossings gives the fabric of life tensile strength and lush texture. Turn by turn, Ixchel shows you how to order the micro and the macro and stitch the pattern until some exquisite design becomes apparent. Ixchel says time is the thread and destiny the cloth. Like weaving, midwifing your dreams entails diving into your center and drawing innate knowledge out. The essential element is to be fully present, attentive to nuance as well as the grip and grift of labor pains. If you've come to a standstill, examine how you may be blocking some desire or natural unfolding. Are you distrusting the weft of right timing or pulling the warp's thread of ambition too tightly? Watch the edges. They tell you where you are. If you are not moving forward or having hit a snag, be gracious in the stillness. This too is part of the greater design. Like following a thread through one of Ixchel's colorful textiles, let devotion to your vision guide you over, under, and through the rich tapestry of your soul's journey. So it does, like, these are very much so in conversation, where it is kind of like that same thing of, like, if you're trying to weave your goals, your objectives, and your greater life story too quickly and thoughtlessly, like, the more you're going to create tangles or not pay attention to the beauty of what you're weaving or even notice patterns appearing, you know? And so there's something about this does also, like, show that in that being present to the moment and the phase you're in and what is now and the magic of now, that it helps you to also notice the patterns that are wanting to be woven and the patterns that are starting to appear by weaving more thoughtfully and presently, you know, like this gives more of like a visual to this, that like if you're present to where you are and the color you've been given to weave with, you can respond to that color and weave it in a way that makes sense to you, in a way that feels beautiful to you, no matter what that color is or what that thread, how much you like or dislike that thread is sort of your choice of how you're responding, what you're doing with that circumstance, that thread, and how you're seeing it as part of like your greater story, and how beautiful that is, no matter if the moment is beautiful or terrible. It is your story. There's a greater wholeness at play here. But we have to be present to the moment of how we're weaving with that story, with that, you know, the things that are coming towards us. And I do think, you know, there's certain things circumstantially, you know, especially like where you live in the world is going to affect a lot of your circumstances. But that said, like the more present you are and the more magic you can tap into by being present, the more you can tap into a vision of like a pattern you can collapse into your reality, or a pattern that is starting to collapse into your reality, and kind of in some ways direct the timelines you choose, collapsing timelines into being through ritualization, through activities that bring a field of potential into tangible motion. I don't know if I'm getting a little bit too esoteric here, so I'm gonna roll back just a little bit. Just, you know, it's just like being present to the now, being present to your larger wholeness, and responding artfully in the moment to that, and noticing the patterns that could be and that are happening, that you have a little bit of control of in how you're weaving. Yes, so I do feel this, because this reading is being channeled from like your deeper sense, I do feel this voice underneath everything I'm saying. I'm like, I've said a lot of words here, trying to get these like abstract concepts, some kind of visual to make them more tangible. But like underneath all of these words, the feeling I'm getting is that like you have a lot more control of your moment and how you perceive your moment and respond to your moment than you're seeing right now. And your deeper self really wants you to understand that. And it might only be just the way you're perceiving, like there's a different way to perceive this moment that could be much more beautiful and much more inclusive of the whole of your wholeness. Yeah. Okay, so last card, what is a third need or insight at least around your deeper needs that the Goddess Power Oracle can bring? Epona, wise leadership. Yeah, I mean, to me, even before we get into the guidebook for this, is like, there is this thing of like, take charge, take charge of your own responses and your own like collapsing potentials into your reality. Like envision what you want, be present to what is, be courageous, be in your heart. It's like you're stronger than you think you are. You have more control over your perceptions than you think you do, and how you're responding to things. It's sort of like there's your deeper self is saying like, I have something to activate here. I have something to what is the word I'm trying to get? I just like, I have, there's more to this moment if you can just like drop into the moment and be present. There's so much more richness here than we're seeing, and there's so much if you tap into me as your deeper need that I can inform you about, and how to take action with more courage versus more efforting or more just like busyness or trying to control something. It's like, no, there's something from your heart that's ready to stand up and take charge of how you're seeing, how you're responding, how you're perceiving, and just kind of facing life with a little bit more boldness. Yeah, so let's see what the guidebook wants to add in addition to that. So wise leadership, stepping into the world with a sense of surety and positive self-worth is what's called for. Epona, the Celtic Roman horse goddess of leadership and guidance, offers her wisdom. Know that you have what it takes to heed it. You can do anything you place your attention on, and you'll find it easy to accomplish what's needed for your intentions to take form. Whether you are aware of this or not, the way you manage your accomplishments and even the way you handle failures and losses is modeling the way forward for others. There is a wisdom growing within you. Be true to who you are, and placing integrity and humility equal to enthusiasm makes you a wise leader indeed, one the goddess Epona is so proud of. So wisdom is growing in you. I think your deeper self is bringing up these things because you're like right there. It's like you're getting it, There's something that's starting to click for you. So I feel like this is maybe more of a confirmation reading of like, yes, yes, that slower thing, that more present thing, that more larger arc of perception of your wholeness, larger arc of like really noticing how each moment is part of a greater story, and what is the story about in this moment, and what is, you know, the story of culture and society that I'm a part of, and what is the story of my life that's happening right now, more in a micro level. And there's that weaving of how those intersect. And it's like, I think something is like integrating in you around that, where it's like you're getting it, you're seeing the patterns of being able to see the larger picture, the larger arc of things. And I feel like your deeper self is saying that, like, trust those impulses you're having that are making you feel a little bit more courageous, that are making you feel like you're understanding life through your heart, and its coherence a little better, and start using that more actively. Like, trust it, trust those things that are coming through in you. I think it's integrating. I think you're right there, and it's like a big breakthrough, but you need to like trust it and stand up with the courage, you know, and say, aha, I've got it. I've got this bigger picture of life, and my whole perspective about myself and life is shifting because of that. And it's like the pattern is shifting, tapping back into the pattern context in the weaving eggshell card. It's like the pattern is changing. Pay attention to it. Yes, everything that was woven before is still you, is still part of your pattern, but some new pattern is weaving because you've integrated something new, something bigger, a bigger perspective. And it's like, if you can see that, you can even see what patterns may come in the future, and just start to see the moment is beautiful, and the past is beautiful, and the future is beautiful when it arrives, but not like needing to get there because you see it, you know, oh, it's already there. It already happened. It will be there. So there's no rush. So it's like having this much more broad perspective, which is giving you more courage and creating new patterns. That's what I feel like. And seeing your wholeness more clearly through that. So, all right. Hopefully that all made sense. I do feel like, I don't know, I felt like there were a lot of words in this that were kind of conceptual. So I hope this resonated. I hope my analogies made sense. If not, maybe listen again in a few days. Sometimes I have that happen where there's something I read or listen to and it's like interesting, but I don't feel like I integrated it. And then if I come back to it because something's seeded, I'm like, oh, okay. So if there was something like that here, like bookmark this and come back in a couple days and re-listen, because I feel for some people that might be a thing with this particular reading. So anyway, if it did resonate, even if it's more of a seed or if it totally made sense, always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes. But thank you overall for coming here, for letting me read for you. I so enjoy it. So yeah, hope to see you back here, and good luck with this beautiful unfolding coming through. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, where we are checking in with your deeper self and some very feminine decks around what is it that you need right now. So first card of the 3 cards we're getting is from the Wild Whispers Oracle. I'm really loving this oracle. So tapping into the desert landscape and things desert themed, but on top of that adding in times of day and like the rhythm of the desert. So sunrise, midday, sunset, midnight. The desert comes alive in very different ways in its daily in its daily rhythm. Those are my 2 puppies sometimes get ornery with each other. It's okay, guys. You can lay near each other. Okay, so pile 1 and pile 2, their cards were at midday, which was like very, the heat of the desert. Your card comes in at sunrise in the desert, so it's a little bit already. Pile 3 feels very different to me than pile 1 and 2, where there's something coming in of like maybe a little bit more being aware of possibility, at the start of any new day, there's so much that could happen and could be possible, and so many pathways you could take or ways you could do things. Even if you have some agenda in mind, the day brings what it brings. It doesn't always go the way we think, or, agendas shift and things happen. And so there is this thing of possibility, but also your card is flexibility, specifically in that sunrise of the desert. So let's see what the guidebook has to say. Flexible like a tree. Though gravity roots us, the truth is that none of us are tethered to this earth indefinitely. Our beings, like trees, face many disruptive gusts. Withstanding them requires a balance of flexibility and rootedness. Surrender to the world's winds, but remain clear of who you are remain clear of who you are all the same. Trees love to dance, after all. Allow your branches to sway in the breeze so as not to snap. Maybe the bursts you're experiencing are not unruly, but rather carry change that will allow you to spread your seeds. Sometimes a plant thrives by extending its roots into a more fertile territory. Other times, its branches need to stretch higher to reach the sun. Even when you are not in motion, your breath still expands and contracts. Your cells renew and your thoughts shift. Being static is an illusion, really. So relax into the movement and let it teach you how to extend into glistening new territories. Elements, movement, surrender, opposites, malleability, flow, wind, trust. Yeah, kind of tapping into what I was feeling before even reading the book, where it's like the start of the day, things are possible, but even if you have an agenda, things may change. There's so much to come. There's so many things in the wind that may take us on a course that was unexpected, and sometimes that's so worth it and so much better. And there is something about remaining a little bit flexible, even if we have an agenda or a schedule that allows us to kind of tap into the magic of life and experience things that are unexpected and still feel a sense of wonder and magic and surprise and interest in life, rather than, okay, ABC, and I need to get from point A to point B, and I've got this and this and this, and I need to get this done. It's like just allowing a little bit of flexibility within that, those to-dos and those goals just adds a spark into things. It just mixes things up in a way that still allows things to mutate in better ways than you would have expected. And I just feel that, I don't know, just this whole feeling, the way this card looks to me, it's just, there's something about delight here, where it's like, don't be so rigid. There's something more delightful that can happen. And so there's something your deeper self, I think, is trying to bring forward for you, a need to allow a little bit more spontaneity in things, allow a little bit more possibility. It's not saying throwing out to-do lists or agendas, but like, instead of being frustrated at a detour or a delay or a cancellation or this not working, looking at that with a little bit more fun and pizzazz and like, well, okay, that's a challenge. So it's like sometimes in those limitations and challenges that we create, huge breakthroughs and interesting things. So like, look at it as opportunities. Like, okay, so I can't go that way, or this thing got delayed and it's going to affect that and that and that. Instead of getting worked up and frustrated and rigid about it, it's like, okay, so this has opened up a different possibilities. What are we going to do here? Is there actually something more interesting because of this is happening that we can do or that can happen? Like, I think it's like your deeper self and your deeper need is saying like, something could be jazzed up a little more by allowing more adaptability and changing your perspectives or your perceptions of, especially like if you come to this reading right when it comes out, we are basically in Mercury retrograde. We're in pre-shadow retrograde, but in my opinion, that still is a bit as wonky as retrograde. But retrograde is starting in a couple days if you do watch this right when I upload it. And so this could also be some foreshadowing of like, Mercury retrograde tends to come with miscommunications, delays, bottlenecks, redoing things, these kinds of wonky things that happen. And I'm always like, play with Mercury retrograde. Sometimes it's showing you, it's like a feedback loop that's showing you that like, it's like placing a mirror up to things of like, maybe that wasn't planned in the best way. Maybe I didn't consider this context or put myself in that person's shoes. And there's like a much more elegant way for this to unfold now that I have that context, or I was thrown off course because I didn't have a context. It like, I don't know. My opinion, even though it can be frustrating, is it opens up this much more, this greater field of refinement and elegance in the flexibility of change, in the flexibility of tweaks and pivots. There's something more elegant that can arrive here, much more harmonious and resonant. So I feel like your deeper self knows this, but maybe your, normal functioning that every human has, like we're not always in touch with our deeper selves as we go through a day. So I feel like the deeper self in you is saying like, bring that to your consciousness, that it could actually be fun and interesting and enriching to just lean into those veering off course moments. Like, look at them as opportunities. Flip this narrative, bring that into consciousness right now, and see if it leads you to better things, more refined and more elegant ways and possibilities and outcomes. Okay, so we're going to get from the Wild and Sacred Feminine deck another need. Okay, so we have Pearl with Authenticity. Oh, I love that. Okay, hold on one second while I find this card. Oh, I was looking for Authenticity, not Pearl. Okay, hold on. Okay, 85. I'm like, it's not here. Here we go. Pearl, illuminated from within, bestows iridescent beauty. Her glow captures the luminous essence of the moon. Her underwater origins tap the raw power of the sea. No wonder Pearl appears around the world in fairy tales and myths, attended by royalty and guarded by dragons. Drawing this card means that it's your turn to embark on a heroine's journey in search of the fabled pearl beyond price. Ooh, that sounds so exciting. Okay. Let's see. You may encounter adventure and misfortune on this path of inner realization, but if you remember your true mission, you will enjoy immeasurable wealth. Be rich in the knowledge that your authentic being is that beloved pearl. Like Pearl, you are one of a kind. By sharing yourself wholly and uniquely, you are sounding your inimitable note exactly as the universe intends. Pearl takes you on a quest to embrace your individuality, the beauty of your singular soul design, and live it out loud. Anything less robs the universe of your irreplaceable contribution to her song. Grant yourself the freedom to express and create, live and let live as you connect to whatever moves through you moment by moment. Don't criticize yourself or worry about what others think. These judgments are dragons you must slay to reclaim the genuine pearl of your truth. What greater gift can you give the world than your unique pearl? Bring your power to bear by being your truth and leaving room for others to be theirs. Open the door to authenticity and follow a thread of joyful wisdom. Hold on. Open the door to authenticity, then follow a thread of joyful curiosity to find treasure where you may not expect it. Yeah, allow those detours. Let's see. Pearl wisdom teaches you to trust your knowing as well as your discontent. A princess might complain about a bothersome pea when in reality she is voicing some passion, some potential, some soul deep pearl pushing up. By way of irritation, a ragged grain of sand arrives at unblemished perfection. Rare beauty belies pearl's unspectacular origins. Your greatest value emerges from unashamedly being yourself. Pearl shows you how that is enough. Wow, I love that. And there is this thing of like, I love the heroine's journey entering here, and how it is sort of this thing where it's like in the heroine's journey, part of it is this journey to find autonomy, so to find our voice and our value. But I love the authenticity coming through in context of that as well, where it's like we don't always know our inherent worth, and because of that we don't always show up authentically. And it can take a lot of time and trial and error and even some trauma sometimes to see how quieting our authentic voice, not trusting in our authentic self, acting counter to those inherent inner things in order to be deemed good or right or proper, ends up just like never taking us to the right place, never really allowing us to open up to our full potential and our full being. And I love the way flexibility came out with the heroine's journey, where it's like that is that is just part of the heroine's journey. In my way of reading astrology, Venus is the planet that takes us on a heroine's journey, and it takes about a 19-month journey. And so we're constantly going on these heroine's journey. Every 19 months we, start a new one. And, we end one and start one. And so we're constantly updating and realizing a new quality of authenticity that's coming through, or a new quality of voice and value that we hadn't really quite gotten to that layer yet. So this is something we all constantly are going through. And those early steps of the heroine's journey, it's when we move out of the extraordinary world, so the feminine world of, emotion and intuition, into the ordinary world of the masculine, where there's jobs and discipline and, outer world goals and ordinary mundane things like knowing how to pay bills and this and that. And when we move from that extraordinary world into the ordinary world at the start of the heroine's journey, the way I read it anyway, we go into what's called the dark forest, and we fall into lots of trappings, and there can be a lot of trauma there. Not every journey brings real trauma, but there's things that are always a little bit like, whoa, that was intense, or like, I wasn't sure how to deal with that situation. And, you're in these, every 19 months we go in these phases where we don't always know our inherent worth, and others are trying to direct our worth or steal our worth. And you have to learn the hard way in this journey of how to stand up for yourself, and to even be able to see what that worth is, and see what your voice is, and see what your boundaries are. And but there's something about going through the dark forest that is special too, of getting that compare and contrast, and having to see how others are giving us our shoulds, and taking advantage of certain things around us or about us, that I don't know how to articulate it super well, but it's like, without going through that, we wouldn't end up knowing how special it is, how special what we end up recognizing is authentic and valuable and inherently worthy in us, without it having, if there was nothing that ever tried to get us to act counter to it or take advantage of it, we would never really own it. So you kind of have to go through that. And I feel like that flexibility card in the morning, morning in the desert, is kind of saying maybe you're just kicking off a heroine's journey. So don't judge yourself when things don't go how you expected, or you feel unprepared for certain circumstances, or you start attaching someone else's shoulds, or trying to get approval by acting, just needing external approval in general. But on top of that, when we need external approval, we can act counter to what our deeper self is saying. And it's don't judge yourself for that. Don't beat yourself up when those things happen. They're gonna happen. They happen constantly. Every 19 months we have a big, a 3-month phase of that, where it's we're constantly doing things to get approval, and discovering new things in us, and recognizing them, how we're being influenced, and how we're being taken advantage of. And it's but that's part of the journey, and that's part of the growth of it, and it's part of just be flexible with it, and look at it as an unfolding and a revealing of like, it's all leading you further into the path of recognizing like something that is beautiful and authentic in you, that like the pearl has been building and is now ready to be owned. But at this moment, it's like it's like a little bit of an irritation where it's like, what is that? What is that thing? And I keep feeling like it's being tugged at by the outer world, but I don't know what it is yet. You do have to kind of go through these things, the dark forest, to like recognize what it is. So it's like, don't judge those things that take you off course, that have you, responding to external influences, that have you questioning yourself and your voice. Like, have a little bit of fun in that. I know that sounds paradoxical to say, but it is like in like another aspect of that early part of the heroine's journey is that, that thing of being attracted to the bad boy, which is also is like where some innocence can be lost, but it's also a little bit thrilling. There's some of that energy in this in the early moments of a heroine's journey. And when I am putting this out, we are a couple weeks away from that kind of a new journey has started, but it's like in this incubation phase where you're finding the fairy godmother stuff. You're not quite in the new ordinary world yet, but that step is actually coming very soon, within a few weeks of when this reading goes live. So if you see this when this goes live, this might be like your deeper self knowing it's coming, because it is a pattern that happens over and over in our life. So like our inner premonitions are onto that. They know it. They see it coming. And that deeper self of you might be like, this one's a special one. Lean into it. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Have fun with those mistakes. Lean into a little bit of like chasing the bad boy kind of energy. Not literally doing that, but that kind of energy, that like, temptation and seduction, a little bit of that is there, and a little bit of that can be fun, even though we tend to usually get wounded there. There is a little bit of, we learn a lot through ourselves through that excitement. And I think this is saying like, it's okay to have a little bit of fun with that, even if it's naive, and if it comes back to bite you a little bit. It's part of the growing process, and be flexible with it. Catch yourself when you can about when you're not being authentic to yourself, or when you're realizing, a boundary that needs to be established. Of course, do that when they're seen, but, don't, when you're in circumstances that feel a little bit out of your depths, be flexible about it. Lean into it. There's something you're really learning in the learning curve of this particular heroine's journey you're in. So hope that made sense. Let's move to our last card from the Goddess the Goddess Power Oracle. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. So what can the goddesses illuminate about your deeper needs right now? What does your deeper self need? What's your deeper self saying it needs that the goddesses can illuminate? Gula, healing. That's interesting. I use this deck often in my personal life, and I can say I have literally never picked that card or really noticed it. That's so weird. Okay, well, let's dive in. Okay. Gula, the Babylonian goddess of medicine and healing, has come to guide you as a blessing and for your well-being. You're being invited to address the areas of your life that need healing. Perhaps you have moved so quickly through your life that you've forgotten about self-care. Perhaps the stories you've told yourself about who you are need healing. We don't always see that we are hurting ourselves or others. take heart, for Gula comes into your world as your ally, saying that now is the most auspicious time to focus on healing in all aspects of your life. Only good things will come from your actions here. In fact, now is also the perfect time when you can be assured that you can heal rifts with others as well. Be sincere and call upon Gula for this precious commitment. You may also be called to the path of the healer now. If so, the goddess Gula supports this wholeheartedly. You just need to be willing, respect others, and do no harm. Miracles will arrive as if out of nowhere. The way I am feeling this card is that this heroine's journey, and it was interesting because I'm like, I feel this reading saying to like lean into the heroine's journey and lean into these early stages that sometimes can do a little bit of harm. Not always like major harm, but like we can get in over our heads a little bit. And it's interesting how it's saying like having fun with it and leaning into that. And then this Gula comes up with healing, and it just like to me solidifies that there's something you're about to learn in this heroine's journey that is really going to be healing. Like I feel like this pearl that's forming, that's coming into being, is something that has been in the works for a long time, something you've denied for a long time, or something you've been building for a long time, something that's been irritating you for a long time. What is that thing that needs the most healing in your life? This heroine's journey is going to do that. It doesn't mean you get to skip any of the, dark forest stages. But I think you're still going to enjoy the dark forest stages. I think you're going to enjoy those moments where you're too influenced by the external world and the realizations you're going to end up having through whatever happens on this journey are really going to show you your authenticity on a deeper level than you've ever seen. And a way to really cherish and honor and heal something about your authenticity. And that is actually interesting, because if you do come to this, especially before about mid-July, when the current Venus heroine's journey kind of moves into the ordinary world, or the new world to it, did seed in the sign of Aries, which is about authenticity, and it is about being independent and bold and courageous. And I feel like a lot of people, that is a very, like, Aries energy can be a very damaged energy in a lot of us, like really have, investing in your agenda, your passion, your independence, your brightness, your authenticity. It's that energy where you have to be, that's one of the most masculine energies. So our heroine side isn't natural with it, because it's a little bit more, relational and accommodating. And Aries is not accommodating for anyone but itself. It is my way or the highway. I'm not scared to be me. I'm going to say what I think. There is no filter. I'm going to act on impulse. I'm going to take up the space I want to take up. So there might be something around that, and just like really boldly, loudly owning your authenticity that is going to heal with this heroine's journey. And it's like, lean into it, like lean into all the stages of it, the points that are hard, the points that are seductive and exciting, the points where there's a little bit of like wounding or things that come back up to bite you, but then ultimately where you re-rise as the queen really honoring your own inner compass and shedding away those shoulds and those improper accommodations, and like knowing your no's and holding your boundaries, and like coming up into your Aries energy, not in a way you think you should, but in a way that is from the inside out. And like there's something, I don't know, that there's something that's like, pay attention to this journey. It's really going to peel back some layers and open some things up, and something very valuable. Like it said in the reading for the Pearl and Authenticity, pearls are very valuable, and something that really heals in that. So I think whatever journey you kind of feel starting to unfold around mid-August, new things you're kind of stepping into that feel a little above you in some way, it's like lean into it. Yeah, there might be some things that overwhelm you or that are hard, but like it's worth it. Like lean in. This is going to be a very important journey for you guys. Okay, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. I really didn't expect the heroine's journey to come up. That's so interesting. So anyway, if this resonated, I always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes, all those things. But in general, thank you for coming. I love doing these readings, so thank you for letting me read for you. And I hope to see you in future readings.